Verse 72. Body, abode and property are three representations seized upon as objects. The will, the desire to hold, the discrimination of these representations are the seizing agents. So as spiritual practitioners, this is what we're up against. We're up against this intense tendency to believe in the actual reality of the external world. And there's a basic desire to protect our body, to protect our home, our abode, and to protect our property. And this is okay up to a certain point, but we tend to do so to a desperate extent. If you're living in a fairly affluent society with opportunity, it all seems to be a bit over the top. And you'll find some very liberal middle class people who are obsessed with their own well-being and by extension the well-being of their family. So they'll need to have a nice big house, they'll eat the best food, it has to be organic of course, no chemicals. Unfortunately they might have to have one or two cars to get their kids to the nice school. I'm sure they'll be using unleaded and maybe there'll be some kind of hybrid car. But there's an extraordinary amount of material wealth needed to sustain this lifestyle, this middle class lifestyle. And these people are usually very nice, and nobody seems to question this because you're doing it for your family. So this body, abode and property are three representations seized upon. And I would suggest it's often seized upon in the name of our offspring. That's a good way of justifying it, isn't it? Because these people that I mentioned, they work very hard. Perhaps both parents are working. But anyway, I don't want to criticize such people because they often feel guilty enough. I'm just pointing out how pervasive and intense this longing is, this desire to maintain body, abode and property, acquisitions. It sets us off on a lifelong pattern of acquisition, which we don't question. We don't question. But as spiritual practitioners, no matter what our lifestyle, we must be aware of this. We must be aware of these intense drives that are seized upon. This intense need to feather our nest. The will, the desire to hold, the discrimination of these representations are the seizing agents. So this is the focus to acquire. The focus to acquire what we discern in the material world, what will fulfill our desires. And this is the nature of awareness. It's not a function of the ego. We're not being moralistic here. Awareness seizes something. It seizes something to the point that it forgets itself. When I'm aware of this piece of paper, awareness has seized it. Awareness then disappears so that there's only this piece of paper. Fortunately, this piece of paper is emotionally neutral and I'm not emotionally attached to it. So there's no big stream or flow of emotions or moods associated with it. There's no longing associated with it. So awareness itself underpins the seizing agents. And what happens then if we're not mindful? The cycle of moods is propelled further and further along. The cycle of insecurities and tendencies to acquire. So what we want then is to get back to the truth of suchness. Verse 73. As long as those philosophers who get confused in their reasonings and who are unable to go beyond the realm of words distinguish the discriminating from the discriminated, so long they do not see the truth of suchness. So who are these philosophers? Well, they're all of us really. I suspect though that in this context it's talking about particular Buddhists. Buddhists have their own version of discriminating. We discriminate in a dream. We discriminate particular objects in a dream. They've got no particular self-nature, no self-substance. They are unborn and empty. And yet discrimination goes on and gives them substantiality. And Buddhists do this. We've had the skandhas already, analysing the ego personality into the skandhas. And this is useful up to a point, but then there's one element that's missed, one element that's overlooked. It's what is doing the discriminating. This is the pointer to enlightenment. What is doing the discriminating? That's not included in the skandhas. This is what verse 70 called the mind with a capital M. So we have to distinguish the discriminating from the discriminated if we wish to see the truth of suchness. And when we do, verse 74 tells us, when the yogin, by means of his transcendental wisdom, understands that all things existent have no self-substance, he thus attains calmness and establishes himself in the state of no form. So we come back to this awareness which is not aware of anything. It's not losing itself in any particular object, in any particular form. This is our essential sense of being. This is suchness. This is transcendental insight. It is calm beyond all moods. And we work to become established in it.